welcome to Athens City Council. Tonight is Monday night, February 18th at 7 p.m. And tonight we're in regular business session. We'll have a series of communications and reports in the beginning, and then we'll move on to ordinances for third, second, and first reading, and some other business at the end. The first item of business is to establish a quorum. All members of council are here. The next item is disposition of the minutes for the regular session held on February 4th, 2019. If I could have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and second for approval of the minutes for the session held on February 4th. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The minutes have been approved. We now have communications. I have four brief ones, the first one of which is a notice from the Division of Liquor Control out of the Department of Commerce for the state. And this is what appears to be a name change. It's going, an establishment on 10 South Court Street is changing its title from Big Mama's Burritos LLC to Athens Burritos LLC. So just a formality when those kind of papers come through Athens, then we are notified of that, so it's not a new license. The second item is that tomorrow there will be a meeting at the Athens Community Center at which council members will be present as well as city administration and staff, and this is a meeting convening all the city commissions. And I believe 137 people were invited, and we're hopeful that many of those people will come. It's an opportunity to learn more about the work of the city commissions and boards, and also an opportunity for them to engage in conversation and discussion and talk about city resources that are available. And then on February 26th, the Athens City Council will be having what is a once-a-year meeting with the president of the university, President Nellis, and his administrative staff. That meeting will be at Arts West at noon on February 26th. And last but not least, the council members are in receipt of a letter from a group of people, some local historians and architects who are working for the Consortium for Athens County Historic Preservation. They are submitting a report an application to the Ohio Department of Natural Resources and have approached council with the possibility of requesting, or they are requesting, a letter of support for this proposal. So if I don't hear any strong objections to it, what we'll probably do is bring that up as the committee of the whole, at the committee of the whole meeting next week to discuss that proposal. And I do have a full copy. Council members received a 3-page summary. I do have the full booklet available if council members would want to read that before next week. And are there any other communications from other council members? Councilmember Katsas.
Yes, thank you. I don't get the chance to announce twice in one month, but the regular board meeting for the Athens City School District is coming up this Thursday on the 21st at 6:30 p.m. I also received a notification today as a parent that the East Elementary PTO meeting this Wednesday at 5 o'clock at East Elementary. We'll have some of the architects present, so people can engage with the architects that are working on the building plan moving forward. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember McGee.
I just wanted to announce that I've been contacted by some citizens who are concerned about the chimney on East Elementary, and I'm sure how it would affect the chimney swifts who actually live there and roost there, and I'm sure that they'll be eager to attend the school board PTO meeting at East tomorrow, or Wednesday, I should say. So thank you for announcing that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Any other communications from other council members? Okay, we'll move on to reports from other elected officials. Law Director Eliason. Okay. And I don't believe Auditor Hecht is here. Mayor Patterson.
I just have two items tonight to share with council. One is a notice that came from the Department of Engineering and Public Works, and it has to do with College Street. On College Street, we experienced a sewer line clog / collapse, and therefore there's work that's going on College Street. So tomorrow, starting at 6 a.m., College Street will be closed between East Union Street and Washington. So keep that in mind, and it'll be closed until the project is complete. So just be cognizant of that. Our Engineering and Public Works folks are working very hard on that. As a matter of fact, I went and visited the site the other day, and I was very pleased with the safety measures that were in place as they were working in a rather deep sewer line. The other thing I wanted to bring up is I received a letter from the Mount Zion Church Preservation Society in asking for a letter of support as they apply for Department of Interior funding for that church project. It's an expensive project, but a well-deserved project, and hopefully that comes to fruition for them to receive some grant money to bring Mount Zion Church back to life.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. We'll move on to our ordinances, and it doesn't always make sense, the order in which we put things, I think, in the agenda sometimes, but very briefly, just for background information, when an ordinance comes before City Council, it is usually, almost always, come up through committee first for discussion, and then it goes through a series of 3 readings, and we put them in reverse order, so we have our readings, our ordinances for 3rd reading first, so it's actually the final reading for that ordinance, and there's often a summary explanation, and then we always have an opportunity for comments and questions. Then we move on to ordinances for 2nd reading and then for 1st reading. And then we will also, at the end of our meeting tonight, have a few other items that we'll have. It's a business item, so we'll be taking a motion and a vote for approval of some, actually reappointment of our Poet Laureate. So right now we'll have our ordinances for 3rd reading. 0419 is an ordinance authorizing the purchase of softening salt for the water treatment plant and is introduced by Councilmember Butler.
Thank you, President Isley. I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance 04-19.
Second.
Thank you. Quite simply, this is regular housekeeping and authorizes the City Service Safety Director to purchase, to go into contract and purchase the softening salt for the water treatment plant. Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion and second for approval of ordinance 419. Do we have any other comments or questions from council members, administration, or the audience? All right. We'll have the vote then. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The motion carries and the ordinance is approved.
Thank you.
Ordinance 519 is an ordinance closing East Union Street between Court and University Terrace on Saturday, April 6, 2019, from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. for the International Street Fair, and is introduced by Councilmember Katsas.
President Isley, thank you. At this moment, I would like to make the motion to adopt 0519.
Second.
And I love these ordinances that say it right in the title. This is very straightforward. They are not the International Street Fair. This is their 50th anniversary of the event. They are asking for the same thing that they did last year, which is a closure between on East Union Street between Court and University Terrace, and this is from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Saturday, April 6, 2019.
Okay, thank you. So we have a motion and second for approval of 519. Are there any other comments or questions from council members, administration, or the audience? Okay. So we'll vote now. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The motion carries and the ordinance is approved. Ordinance 619 is an ordinance authorizing the Service Safety Director to enter into an LPA state project agreement with the Ohio Department of Transportation for bridge painting within the corporation boundary on U.S. State Route 33. This is project 106810, and declaring an emergency, introduced by Councilmember Katsas.
President Isley, thank you. I would like to make a motion to adopt 0619.
Second.
And this is an ODOT project where they will assume 100% of all costs. It just happens that this that US 33, the bridge work is within our city boundaries, and they would like to have this legislation.
Okay. We have a motion and a second for approval of 619. Any comments or questions? Okay. We'll vote then. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The motion carries and the ordinance is approved. Ordinance 719 is an ordinance authorizing the Service Safety Director to enter into an LPA state project agreement with the Ohio Department of Transportation for bridge painting within the corporation boundary on U.S. State Route 33. And this project has the number 25343 and declaring an emergency, introduced by Councilmember Katsas.
President Nisley, I would like to make a motion to adopt 0719.
Second.
And same entity, ODOT, different bridge on the same road on US 33. And I would like to mention that one of these two projects is going to be attempted in late spring, May. The second one they may try to squeeze it in this year, but it could also, we might see work in early 2020 on the second bridge.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion and second for approval of Ordinance 719. Are there any comments or questions from council members, administration, or the audience? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The motion carries and the ordinance is approved. Ordinance 1119 is an ordinance amending Title 15 taxes, Chapter 15.01, Income Tax, Section 15.01.13, Board of Appeal, and is introduced by Councilmember Fall.
Thank you. I move that we adopt 1119.
Second.
Thank you. This is to bring our income tax code in line with the Ohio Revised Code from when they did some of the changes that they had brought down from the state. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion and second for approval of Ordinance 1119. Any other comments or questions? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The motion carries and the ordinance is approved. Ordinance 1219 is an ordinance granting a perpetual easement to Ohio University to permit installation of certain utility conduits on Station Street property, introduced by Councilmember Fall.
Thank you. I move that we adopt Ordinance 1219.
Second.
This is to perpetually put into an easement a little tiny triangle of property so that OU can have its utilities go across there for their new various developments that are going to be going on down in that area.
Okay. So we have a motion and second for approval of Ordinance 1219. Are there any other comments or questions from council members, administration, audience? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The motion carries and the ordinance is approved. And we only have two ordinances for second reading. I do read the title and see if there are any other comments or questions. Ordinance 1319 is an ordinance amending the 2019 appropriation ordinance, but I do see that this is the one we're going to suspend on tonight. Thank you. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. Okay. Introduced by Councilmember Reisner.
Thank you, Madam President. I make a motion that we suspend the rules for 1319.
Second.
Reason for suspension is I received an email from the auditor that this appropriation ordinance has to get through because of inter-fund transfers have to be done by the end of the month.
Okay. So we have a motion and second for suspending the rules. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The rules have been suspended. Council.
Thank you, Madam President. I make a motion that we adopt 1319.
Second.
Again, this is an ordinance transferring funds from mainly the Municipal Courts Clerk Computer Fund and Drug Enforcement Fund.
Okay. We have a motion and second for approval of Ordinance 1319. Are there any other questions or comments? Okay. We'll move forward with a vote then. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries and the ordinance is approved. Ordinance 1419 is an ordinance amending Ordinance 14218, staffing levels, and declaring an emergency, introduced by Councilmember Reisner. We now move on to ordinances for first reading. 1519 is an ordinance extending the pilot residential curbside compost project through June 30, 2019, and is introduced by Councilmember Butler.
Thank you, President Isley. As you recall, we discussed this at committee meeting. The administration is supportive of this program, and there's a request to expand and include an additional 35 residents, which would be no additional cost to the city. Additionally, this would be retroactive and would begin January 1st, 2019, and then continue through June 30th of 2019. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Yes, Councilmember McGee.
I would just like to mention that I think it's appropriate for the advocates of the curbside recycling to indicate to council whether they are doing anything to deal with composting with apartment complexes, and if so, what they propose to do with their project. I know that they intend to come back before council in the coming year, I suppose, to advocate for a citywide composting, but I think it would be appropriate that council have the opportunity at various times to consider what the options are for composting. So I would ask those advocates to come forth for council and explain that aspect of it in advance. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Any other comments or questions from council members, administration, audience? Okay. We'll move on to Ordinance 1619, and this is an ordinance closing a portion of Court Street between Union and Washington on Saturday, August 3rd, 2019 from 8 a.m. to midnight for the Bounty on the Bricks fundraiser, and is introduced by Councilmember Katsas.
President Isley, thank you. Last week we had a great presentation by officials from Ohio Health and also HAPCAP to talk about the Bounty on the Bricks, which is a fundraiser that will be on Saturday, August 3rd. And this is the dinner where they close the Court Street and serve dinner up on the bricks. And this is between Union and Washington Street, and the closure request is from 8 a.m. to midnight on Saturday, August 3rd.
Okay, thank you. Any comments or questions? Okay. Ordinance 1719 is an ordinance suspending the enforcement of Athens City Code Chapter 11.04, vending, peddling, and soliciting, to allow vending in a designated area on August 3rd, 2019, during the Bounty on the Bricks fundraiser, and introduced by Councilmember Katsas.
President Isley, thank you. During the season of street closure requests, you hear a lot from me, and that is because we usually have to have 3 ordinances passed at the same time. This one basically suspends our vending ordinance so that it allows the Bounty on the Bricks to operate in an area that technically they couldn't unless we suspended this.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Additional comments or questions? Councilmember McGee.
I just wanted to clarify one thing. This doesn't affect the spaces of the current vendors, does it at all?
It does not, no, because this is directly on Court Street.
Great, thank you.
Okay, thanks. All right, we'll move on. Ordinance 1819 is an ordinance amending Ordinance 8418 to increase the appropriation and expenditure for construction and construction engineering services for the Richland Avenue pedestrian passageway project, number 311, and declaring an emergency. This is introduced by Councilmember Katsas.
President Isley, thank you. Here's another reason why you hear from me. at this time of the year. Our construction projects are starting to line up for the summer, and this one is the Richland Avenue Passageway. And we had a great presentation by Engineer Bob Hetty, the Director of Public Works here at the City of Athens. And he basically presented actually a pretty good fact sheet that I did bring back again tonight to kind of refer back to it. But let me actually just go in and read some of the sections of the ordinance that are being changed. And this is going down to Section 3, where the City Safety Service Director is further authorized to expend up to, and then this part is struck out, $3,495,129. So that amount is struck, and it is replaced with $3,664,994 for said projects as followed. $1,812,195 from Small Cities ODOT Fund 589 TC 500, $90,000 from the Storm Sewer Fund 755 TC 500, and then this amount is also struck out, $1,592,934. So that number is struck and is replaced with $1,762,799 from Street Rehabilitation Fund 572 TC 500. Now, to kind of give you the short of it, engineering is asking for an additional $429,864 for this project. The other thing that they want to do in the bid is to change the time frame from 90 days and stretch it out to the total project would be 147 days long. And what this would do is this would still keep us within the window to receive that the ODOT Transportation Alternatives Program funding, which was that 589 number. That's the category it's from. The number is actually $1,812,195. And so we do have an additional $400,000 that is coming from OU. I know that there was a request for additional funds from OU. I don't know if we have heard anything about that, and I'm going to ask administration right now if we've heard anything on such a short time frame.
I spoke with OU's administration last week. I believe it was last Wednesday, and it has increased with an additional $150,000.
Okay.
The other thing to share with council is we are lining things up to apply for the Transportation Improvement District, which I've mentioned to council several times. It's an economic development ODOT grant, and we feel pretty good about this particular project falling into that category because of the number of businesses that we have in the uptown area that will benefit by having easier traffic flow, if you will, through that area, both pedestrian and vehicle. And so, but that's a process to go through as well. That'll have to go through District 18, Transportation Improvement District, which the City of Athens is one of the members of that district. So we'll apply, and that particular grant will cover up to 25% of a project or $250,000. And so what we would be asking for would be the $250,000 of the total project, or the city share of the project.
And if I can ask just one more question, and then we can open it up to everyone else, and actually it'll be kind of complete, just to complete the funding source. The additional funds were going to come from street rehab, and I was thinking about it during the course of last week. Since I can only kind of give a steering wheel, observation, how are our streets? Because at this point, because we have seen. This is where the funding's coming from. We're going to take a little bit out of our streets, street repair, street paving, to be exact.
Well, I'll give council a recap. I think I've mentioned this in the past, but I'll mention it again, and that is that when I took office, prior to my taking office as mayor, we were paving somewhere between 4.5 to 5 miles, one-way miles of city street. When I took office, that was increased to 9 miles a year in 2016, 9 miles and some change in 2017, and then 2018, we were able to cover 18 miles of street in the city. That's not to say that there's still work to be done on our city streets. It's that season, as council is well aware, that when you have a lot of freezing, thawing, and refreezing again, we have patchwork that has been done in the past that is heaved up. So we're going around, as a matter of fact, there's cold mix going out that was out on the road today to patch some of the holes. But we've made significant gains in terms of street repaving over the past 3 years. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yes. All right. Thank you. Okay. Member Butler.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilmember Constance. Thank you, President Nisley, and thank you, the Mayor, for the update. I just wanted to acknowledge that when we go to vote, I will be supporting this ordinance wholeheartedly, undoubtedly. Safety is paramount. Many of us have been around town long enough to have seen and witnessed a few people who have been struck by vehicles, pedestrians that have been struck by vehicles attempting to cross this intersection. I also volunteered to help the administration with a pedestrian count years ago, and there are thousands of pedestrians crossing that intersection on a daily basis. To me, this is a great example of continued collaboration between the university and the city. And again, I appreciate the mayor's update with that collaboration and financial support. Additionally, if you are curious, make an appointment with Public Works Director Bob Hetty and take a look at the blueprints. They're pretty extensive and are very elaborate regarding this project. His predecessor, Andy Stone, started this process years ago. To me, again, there's no question. So thank you. I support this.
Member McGee.
Thank you, and I know my view has been made several times. I'm not a proponent of this project, although I understand the purpose of it. And I also understand Councilman Butler's viewpoint on the fact that there are thousands of students crossing at this particular intersection during the day. And that's true, but they do tend to cross at the same times. And one of the things that I've noticed when I've come to council is that we tend to throw lots of money at rather small projects or large projects, making them larger. And in this particular case, the thing that I find disturbing, and I just want to voice my view on this, is that we started out with, I believe, the city doing a contribution of approximately $1 million, and now it's up to 1.4, possibly 1.5 million, with some of that money being taken from our street repair for a very interesting project. I will use the word interesting. I think that what we've seen, at least what I've seen in the 3 years on council, is that we've gone in project after project where we've had it's not bait and switch, but isn't this a great deal where they will offer us something and we pay this much and we get a great deal of a reduced cost or something, and before it's all done, we're paying more, and you know, the project itself perhaps might not have been worthwhile if we had known the price to start with. So I just want to evidence my disappointment in the fact, and I understand why. It's certainly understandable that the construction will cost more, but as I say, it will cost the city approximately $400,000 more, perhaps $500,000 more, which is a third of what the city's contribution is. I do want to applaud the mayor for seeking other sources, and I think that's great, and I hope it does come through, because I certainly would like to see the streets repaired as much as possible, and I applaud you as well for the fact that this past year many streets have been repaired, and as a citizen I think we all take notice of that. The streets are in much better shape, but I do voice my concern with this particular project, so thank you.
Oh, yes, Member Grace.
I just wanted to say that I do share Member McGee's concerns about, launching into projects with a cost estimate and then, it does frequently seem that the cost is ultimately higher than what we anticipate when we initially begin. But also in my other life role as a student, I am on this portion of Richland Avenue and Ohio University on a regular basis, and I see daily there is a very high risk of accident and injury at this intersection. And while it is a large investment, it's a very significant investment for our city, I think it's one that is critical to the safety of our residents and the students here, and should serve the city very well for hopefully a very long time. And I've looked at it and thought about it, and there's just not a reasonable way to complete this sort of project without it overlapping the university's schedule. And that, for trying the best that we can to minimize that conflict, it definitely creates additional cost. And so basically, I understand and have wrestled with some of Member McGee's concerns, not with this project only, but with other projects, and thinking about the city's budget and financial constraints. But I will be supporting this because I believe it's necessary for the city moving forward. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Okay.
Anyone else?
Yes. All right. Thank you. We'll move on now to announcements and other business. Next Monday night, we will be having committee meetings, and that will be for Monday, February 25th, and we will have all of the committee's meetings, so a full evening planned for that. And then we do have the reappointment of the city's poet laureate and she serves under the Athens Municipal Arts Commission. And Councilmember Butler, would you like to make the motion?
Yes, thank you, President Nicely. At this moment, I'd like to make a motion to reappoint Carrie Gunter Seymour as the city's poet laureate. This would be for a second term. I apologize, I'm having technical difficulties with the computer and I'm unable to bring up her busy schedule, but she has been representing the city quite well in a number of professional endeavors as the poet laureate. So I can provide that at a future time if desirable, but I can attest that she's been busy. Thank you.
Okay.
I second.
So we have a motion and second for the reappointment of Carrie Gunter Seymour as the poet laureate. Okay, any other comments? Mayor Patterson. Yes, Member McGee.
Thank you, President Nicely. I just wanted to comment that I approve this wholeheartedly, and one of the high points of my having been in council was the time when she came and read her poetry, and I wish that she would reappear before council because she's absolutely amazing, so thank you.
We'll have to find another occasion. Okay, thank you. All right, all those in favor? Oh, yes, and Mayor Patterson, you did want to make a comment.
I do.
Yes,
I
okay.
do. And I would like to echo what Councilmember McGee was just saying.
Okay.
She has really taken on this role of being the city's poet laureate 110%. She's thoroughly invested. She's wonderful to listen to, I agree. I laud her for being a steward for the city, especially in the poetry and arts world. So I'm glad council is taking this up tonight. And maybe we can get her to come and read you a poem again. Maybe personally, Patrick. I'm sure that we can arrange to have her come and read a poem to council.
All right. All those in favor of the motion to reappoint our poet laureate, and all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, that sounds unanimous. We would now have the auditor's January 2019 financial records. They have been distributed to council members, I believe, week before last, and so we'd like to have a motion for approval of these.
So moved.
Second.
Or accepting them, a motion to accept them. So we have a motion and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? I don't think there would be. And at the end of the meeting, we always have an opportunity for citizens to speak on legislative items. Oh, and we do have one other announcement. I'm sorry, before I move on.
No problem. I would like to make a motion to appoint Zach Rises to the Affordable Housing Commission.
Yes.
The Affordable Housing Commission has numerous representatives from different facets of life within Athens. And Jacob Mitchell was originally appointed and asked to be relieved of his duties due to some time constraints. And he was representing renters from the city of Athens on the commission. And Zach has agreed to fill that role. And for any here who don't know Zach, he's a 22-year-old resident of Athens City. He was brought here by the university. And Zach has lived in both residence halls and uptown rentals during his time. And he's been an active community member in the city of Athens and also around Southeast Ohio. He texted me and said that he looks forward to advocating for low-income residents of the city of Athens, fighting for the rights of vulnerable renters, and to seeking solutions to the high cost of housing in the city. So I am grateful for his willingness to serve on this commission and make a motion to nominate him to fill the vacancy. And that vacancy expires June 30th of this year.
Okay, so we have a motion and second for the appointment of Zach. And I'm sorry, his last name is
Rises.
Rises, thank you. And this is our newest commission on the city, and Sarah has been chairing that, so it's a daunting task for a brand new commission, and glad to have it full complement of members on it. So thank you for getting the reappointment on that. So we have a motion and second for approval of Zach Rises to serve on the commission. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Now we have an opportunity for citizens to speak on legislative items, and these are on items and city services that were not covered on the agenda. So is there anyone who wants to speak tonight before we end our meeting? I don't see anybody does. Okay. I'd entertain a motion for adjourning.
So moved.
Second.
So all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned at 7:38 p.m. Thank you so much.